Welcome back, CSC 121, to exercise 4. We were calling our last one 4B, and this is test scores, our ongoing saga of test scores, of trying to be more efficient and building more things into it as we go. And the last thing that we did is we used a counter. So we called that one counter. And I think what I'll do here is I'm going to fork this again. You don't have to fork it. You could use the same one, but I'm going to fork it just to get another step on, because we're going to create another counter in here that's going to count up the assignments and tell us how many assignments we have, and then also identify them even in the output here and even in the end output, so we could tell us, you know, you've earned a 70% based on so many assignments. So we're going to do something like that in here. So I'm going to make this a new repel. So if you want to fork it, you can do that. I'll just call it counter 2. And I'll go up here to my drop down, and I'll go over here to the dots, and I'll fork it. And I'll just call it 4C, and I'll keep it called counter since we're still using a counter, and I'll put fork it. And that way I still have the other one if I ever have to go back to or whatever. Or, you know, if you're dealing with a lot of code here, if you had any problem before you move on to the next one. So what we're going to do is we're going to make some new counters. And I'm just going to call the assignment, and I'm going to just put, just so I don't have to put ASS, I'll put ASSN for assignment, because these could be tests, they could be discussions, they could be whatever. I'll put assignment, ASSN, and I'll put equals 1, because we'll start with 1, because the first one will be assignment 1. There'll be no assignment 0, so we're going to start with 1. And we could even put enter possible points, enter assignment 1 possible points, and enter assignment 2 earned points, and things like that. So what I'll do in here to kind of get that set up is we're going to put a variable here, and I'll put enter assignment, and I could spell out the whole thing, but I'm just going to put assignment. Matter of fact, what I'll do is I'll just put AS, I'll put AS with capital letters in here. Now, I'm not using the variable. What I'm doing is I'm going to put inside the variable, I'm going to put curly braces, and I'm going to put assignment like that. So it'll put AS1, AS2. Actually, let me just call it A. The A will be assignment, okay? So in here, that way I don't have to put tests. I think in another video I use tests and stuff like that. So we'll call this A1, and then it'll be A2, A3, A4. That'll be easier. And then I'll even copy this, and I'll put a space here. Now remember, we talked about F strings because we're using this where we're putting that in curly braces. So we're putting that value. So that's going to be 1. So 1 is going to be in here. But in order for that to work, we have to put an F here. We could do that. We'll put an F there. I'll stretch this out a little, and maybe I'll cover this up because I don't know if we need that. So I'll move this over just enough. So we don't need those files over there right now. So again, what's happening is we're going to put a value. So it's going to say enter A1 points. So if we run it, I don't think I should get an error here. It'll say enter A1 possible points, and I'll put 10. And then it says enter earned points. But we're going to put A1 here as well. So that's working out. So I'm just going to stop it, and we'll have to start over. But that's what we want. That's what it's going to look like. So I just wanted to run that just so you can see. It's going to say enter A1. And that way we don't have to put A1, A2. We just have to put A. So this will keep getting added to it. So also I'll do the same thing here. I'll put A assignment just like it is here. I'll copy this and put it here. Now the reason that's not white is because I need this F here to make the F string. So now if I ran it, it would say A1 points, and I'll put 10, and let me run it again. I think I missed. Put 10, and it would say A1 earned points. So it's working. I'll put 9. And I'm not going to continue, so let me just trash that for now. And I'll stop it. That works, but what are we going to do next? Because the next one is A2. Well, the same thing that we did with PP and EP totals. We're just going to increment it. And I'll show you an easier way to increment it. Because what's really going to happen is after this, after it's A1, it's going to become A2, right? So what are we adding to it? Just 1. We're adding 1 each time. So this will be A2, A3, A4, A5. I think that's what I have. So we're going to be adding 1 to it. So it starts off at 1, then we're going to add 1. So we're going to have assignment is going to be 1, and then we're going to add 1. So it's going to be the same thing. We're going to do something like this. ASN, and then is going to be equals, and it's going to be assignment, whatever it was initially, 1 plus 1. So it's going to add to it each time. Now, a shortcut to do that is actually doing something where you go in here, and so you don't have to write, here we have to write pp tote twice, and we have to write, ep tote twice, and then we have to write ASSN twice. And there's a shortcut where you can actually just do this, and you do plus equals, and then you put a space, and you're going to do 1. So that means plus equals means itself. That's kind of a shortcut to do what we just did. You could even do the same thing here. You could do plus equals pp. You could do plus equals pp. That would work too. Okay, so that's what we're doing. But the reason I did it this way, so you understand what I'm doing. And hopefully you'll understand what's happening here. And I'll even put this back, I'll undo, and I'll put it back the way it was. But you could do it there. So this is just a shortcut, and I think I could just put a comment here. I'll just put shortcut for ASN equals ASN plus 1. That's all that's doing. It's just a shortcut. So it's just incrementing itself. And if you ever get confused, I used to get confused thinking, well, do you put equals? Like, what if you put equals plus? Well, that wouldn't work because you're assigning it to plus 1. You're just assigning it to a positive 1. So if you ever think of that, it doesn't work like that. So you always have to do the plus first before the equals, because you don't want to. That would just be you're assigning it to 1. That's all that would come out. You wouldn't get an error. It would just be 1. So you just made it 1. But if you change it and you do plus equals 1, that's a shortcut to do that. So we'll use the shortcut here. That'll be a little bit easier. So that way we can increment this each time. Now, I'm not going to put the comment each time, but I'm going to copy this, and I'll put it after this, and I'll put it after this, and I'll put it after this, and I'll put it after. Actually, do I need it at the end? Assignment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there would be 5 assignments. So actually, I don't think I need it at the end. So I don't think I need it at the very last one, because it would add 1 and it would become 6. So I don't think I need to do that. So before I paste that in there, I'll leave it like that, because it is starting at 1, so I don't need it at the end. And one thing we don't have in here, we have to keep identifying it each time. So we can just copy this. Actually, because there's a variable in here, we could copy these 2 lines completely. So these will all be the same. They'll all be the same. So you could really copy these 2 lines, and copy them and paste them over here, and paste them here, and paste them here, and paste them here, because they're all the same. They have the same variable in it. They'll just change each time. This will be 5, and what we can do at the end too is put you earned a blank score, a score percent for, and I'll put a sign. We already have the F string in there, so we could throw that right in the quote, in the string, and I'll put a space, and I'll put assignments. I'll just spell it out so we know what assignments are. And I'll put a period. And I'll spread that out just a little. Well, actually I don't. I don't know if it helps seeing it like that, but I'll shorten it a little bit so it goes to there. So you earned a whatever score, just like we were doing, for this many assignments. So not only is it going to increment the assignments as you go for entering, but it's also going to give you the total here. So how many we have, it should say 5 here. This should say A5, and this should say A5, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 assignments. So let's see how this works, and let's try to run it, and hopefully you understand what we're doing here. So we're incrementing assignment number, and you know, what would make sense is if you put number in there, but except we can't use that. So, because it would be the pound sign and it would make it a comment. But if you put assignment number, whatever, that's what's happening in here. So let's try it out. A1, possible points, 10, 9. And then A2, now what happened here? It looks like we lost, I lost the line break in there. Well, we could fix that. Let me just finish this up. Oh, and I got an error. What happened here? Line 14, base 10, value error. Well, what happened here? let me do this. Let me put in my line break, my new line character, and I'll do it here. And I'll do it here. And I'll do it here. Break that up. And let me just try it one more time. So AS1 points, we're going to put in 10. And then earned points, I'm going to put in 9. And this is where I got the error last time. So I'm going to put in possible points. I'll put in 10. And earned points, I'll put in 8. And it's working now. I don't know. I don't know what was going on. I was wondering if the comment could have created an issue in there, but it seems to be working now. So I don't think the line break would have been the issue, the new line character, but it seems to be working. I should have just tried it twice. So if you ever have an error, try it again, just to make sure. If it doesn't seem right, if you're looking at things and you're like, wait a minute, everything looks okay. So A3 points, let's put in 10, and we'll do 7, and we'll do 10, and we'll do 6, and then we'll do 10, and we'll do 5. And when we hit enter here, we have 5 assignments, because the ASN number should stay at 5. We're not going to increment it after this. It'll stay at 5. And it should say you earned a 70% in 5 assignments. You earned a 70% for 5 assignments. So that works right. We have 50 points. It looks like they would add up to 35. And that looks right. So everything looks okay. You don't even need this last line down here. This is just a test. So you could always just go in here and comment this out. I'll do command question mark and comment them out. And that seems to be working. So I think for this assignment, for our test scores counter, we have 2 counters going on here. We have one that's starting at 0 and it's adding to itself each time. So it's adding to the total. So it's starting with a 0 total and then adding the possible points. And the EP total is starting at 0 and adding the EP points every time. And every time it's incrementing and adding it to itself and adding up. And same thing we did with assignment. We're starting at 1. So it's saying assignment 1, A1, A1. And then it's adding itself. And then it's going to say A2, 2. It's just the number 2 is all that's showing up here. And then in the end, we're just putting the number 5 here. And then the score is what we're getting from the math. So we have a 70.0% here for that assignment. So you could always round this and put a int in there or anything like that. So if you didn't want any decimals in there, you could put int in there. But we do have 1 decimal place, so that's okay right now. So I think because it's a float, it's going to put a 0 even if it comes out without any kind of, even if you put 0 in here, it's going to be a float. And it's going to put a decimal. So we could get rid of that if we wanted to. We could always put a int around it and convert it from an int to a float, because score is going to be a float after doing math. So we could do something like this. Well, I don't know if it's worth trying it out right now, but we could convert it to an int if we didn't want that 0.0. I'm going to leave it there right now. So that's good for exercise 4. So I'm going to stop here with exercise 4 counter. We're going to keep building on test score kind of things so we can actually get grades. We're going to use a loop eventually, and all kinds of stuff will build into this stuff, because it's kind of a neat idea to kind of work with, to kind of build upon, because each time you do it, you say, well, this is a pain. I'm copying, pasting. How can I make it easier? I don't identify the right assignment. How do I make it easier? And we're going to keep doing that. I like doing that because I learned from that, and hopefully you'll learn from that. So if there's anything that confused you about the counters or anything like that in here, let me know, because sometimes I'll just record a quick video just on a counter, and I'll say this is how a counter works. But you could also check Python and check Python counters and see how they work too. So you can see how they increment themselves. So you're just adding to yourself. So this is a great resource to look at. But if there's anything that you're confused about, I'll put it in your. I'll ask you about that in a discussion. So, which I think I didn't open up for Unit 2 yet. So I'll make sure we do that. So anyway, that's exercise 4. So I'm only going to have 1 exercise. So you could put the last one in there. And then when I go into your repels and I see it, I could look at your previous ones, because I'm assuming you probably also did the 4C I'm assuming you also did the 4B and the 4A to start, or if you put them all together, that's fine too. So you can just give me this one. So when you're done, just copy this and then put that in your comment for exercise 4. I'm not going to ask for 3 URLs or 2 URLs. Just put your final one in there if you want. And if if I already have your replit stuff, you could even put complete. But it does help to put that. It's just quicker. So copy that, put it in your add comment for exercise 4 test scores. I'll just call it that, even though we're doing a couple different repels in here.